come to you this evening asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us engage in a meaningful discussion and nurture the bonds of this community. Amen.
Amen. You may stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Do we have any changes to the agenda for this evening?
No, sir, we do not.
All right. We'll move on to approval of the minutes from our past regular meeting on June 11th. You've all received those minutes from June 11th. If there are no changes or corrections, I'll accept a motion to receive those minutes.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Holland, I make that motion.
Okay. We have a motion from Councilman Holland. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
A second from Councilman Bradley. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. And need to approve the minutes from our last budget workshop meeting on June the 4th. You guys have all received those minutes from that meeting. If there are no changes or corrections, I'll accept the motion to receive those minutes.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Holland, I make that motion.
We have a motion from Councilman Holland. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
A second from Councilman Bradley. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. Is there anyone here from for public comment?
Bridget Bosty.
Bridget Bosky. Okay. Not currently here. Did she submit something via online?
She did submit online. She just wants to reference hi. Just to tell you hi.
Hi. Okay. Short and sweet. Hello, Bridget. All right. Is there anybody else remaining for public comment?
No, sir.
Okay. Is there anyone here for correspondence?
We have no correspondence, sir.
No correspondence. Okay. In essence of time, I'm going to skip down to, bear with me one second. There's new business number 5, presenting approval for recommendations for the various committee appointments. Over the last few weeks, we've gone through our various committees. We're very fortunate to have many members of those committees are returning. A few new members are joining, so excited to have them brought on board. One omission from the list. I apologize for getting it in late, but Lindsay Biddle is going to join the Operations Committee. I know many of you know Lindsay. She's a welcome addition to that committee. But you have those committee members in your board pack. Are there any questions related to the appointments? Okay. All right. Without any questions, I'll receive a motion to approve the appointments.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Holland, I make the motion to accept recommendations of Mayor McCoy for various committee appointments as presented.
Okay. We have a motion from Councilman Holland. Is there a second?
Councilman Quillen, I'll second.
All right. I have a second from Councilman Quillen. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. It's approved unanimously. We're going to scroll back up, if you will, to our public hearing. It's set to start at 7:05. I think we're right about that time, so.
You're okay.
All right. All right, we're going to evaluate the commercial property and,
Can you close the regular meeting?
thank you, thank you.
Open the public hearing.
Yes. Take a motion to close the regular meeting and go into the public hearing.
Councilman Holland, I make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Hahn. Do we have a second?
I second it.
A second from Councilman Bradley. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, and we'll move on to public hearing. Mike, take it away.
All right, thanks. Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Manager.
Good evening.
Good
So,
evening.
First item on tonight's public hearing is for Seaford Commercial 28 LLC, property owner of 1023 West Stein Highway. Tax map and parcel numbers is 531-10.00, -218.00, 219.00, 219.01, and 531-13.50, 92.00. They're seeking final site plan review and approval for the renovations and development of the large vacant shopping center, non-capital shopping center. I'd like to introduce Mike Ryman from Becker Morgan. He's going to come up and present the project.
Thank you, Mike.
Great, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, that was good. For the record, Mike Ryman, Becker Morgan Group, 309 South Governors Avenue, Dover, Delaware. We are very excited to be here for the final approval of this project that I know you all are very well aware of and have seen numerous times. Robert Herrera couldn't be here this evening, had a conflict, but he told me to ensure you that he will be in front of this body in July to give you an update. So I wanted to pass that along to you all. As Mike had suggested, we are here requesting the final site plan approval for the Seaford Commercial 28 LLC, which is now known as the Nylon Capital Shopping Center. And I guess, Mike, I just hit the little arrow. This gives you an overview of the project. This project goes back to December of last year with preliminary approval and a Board of Adjustment approval to address some parking requirements for the project. The site itself is about 22 acres. It's currently zoned C2, has approximately 230,000 square feet of existing space, much of which is vacant. Multiple access points that we'll be consolidating through this design to improve safety and traffic flow. And it will ultimately be about 190,000 square feet of total space with a mix of uses that we'll go into later, including open space, which there'll be an increase of here, some recreation space, pedestrian connectivity, and outdoor gathering space. And actually, I skipped ahead on my slide, so I'm just going to jump past that. So this slide here shows the existing condition of the shopping center there, and I'm sure you're all very, very familiar with. And then this, another angle, looking at it back from Tall, looking towards Stein Highway. And this is a color graphic of what the current proposed plan looks like. And what this shows is the light tan is showing essentially what is being renovated, some portions of building being demolished, and then the building itself being renovated, the facade, exterior facade and skin being improved. And the new structures are shown in the darker orange there. It's a mix of retail space, office, institutional, medical, daycare, entertainment, restaurants, etc. And you can see in the middle there we have a space for gathering, as well as some activities with pickleball, which is unbelievably popular, as we are learning, bocce ball, and again, opportunities for things like food trucks and gathering and events and all that kind of stuff. The main theme of this design is about pedestrian connectivity, outdoor gathering, and connecting all of these different uses together through those facilities. Improved access. The site currently has 3 access points to Stein Highway. That's basically staying the same as it is now. We're adding, I would say we're redoing some sidewalks there, so they'll be improved. And then on the Atlanta side of things, we're improving some of the access points. This one access point there, kind of, I'll call it the middle one that you see, is really a wide open, not ideal. Cars can go every which way. So that's going to be consolidated into a traditional entrance, which will be much safer for traffic flow. And then we did add a new entrance across from Oak Street there. That allowed also for a pedestrian crossing at that location, so that folks who live in that particular development want to come over to the retail area, come get a sandwich, get some pizza at Sal's, they can walk right over pretty easily and get there. And then on the backside of Tall, we actually eliminated all the access points there behind the building in the top right corner, denoted as Building C. It's just a wide open gravel, just bleeds into your road. And as you know, the Stein Highway in Atlanta are DelDOT roads, and Tall and Sussex are your roads. And then moving around to the Sussex side, it kind of similar, consolidating some of the entrances and narrowing them into a more typical entrance with crosswalks and ramps and sidewalks and all of those things. But we also eliminated an entrance near the proximity of the intersection of Sussex and Stein Highway. So as you went around Stein Highway, it just goes right into the back of the shopping center. It's not ideal. It's pretty unsafe, and so we actually eliminated that access working with DelDOT so that we didn't have that condition. We're currently working with DelDOT. This project was successfully received some TIF funding, which has been significant for this project, and it would affect all 4 of the streets that surround this project, and it includes new pavement, overlaying pavement, added sidewalks that don't exist today on portions of it, the pedestrian crossing we talked about, and actually burying a lot of the utilities. So some of the utilities are kind of unsightly there, and wires are all over the place, and some of them are hanging low, and it's really not ideal. So we're working with DelDOT and all of the utility companies to have those utilities buried, and it'll be a significant safety and visual improvement, especially on Stein Highway there. Adding turn lanes along Atlanta. There's no bike lanes on Atlanta. It's got a wide shoulder right now, so there'll be bike lanes there and additional turn lanes into the shopping center. So that'll be a big improvement over what's out there today. Lots of landscaping. Go back to the other slide. It's a sea of pavement. There's not a lot of landscaping out there. There's not a lot of islands. You can see on this particular rendering, the green space that exists is significant, and there'll be landscaping that we've included in our package to the city, and additional buffers. Some of the parking, for example, actually goes right out into the street. So there's actually parking that's in the city and DelDOT right away right now. And so we've pulled that in so that there's actually some buffer between the parking and the road that doesn't exist today in the current configuration. So overall, the impervious reduction on the project is about a 16% overall reduction in impervious coverage out there. With that, just some additional renderings, and I know you've seen some of these. These are the most current renderings. This is looking at the front of the existing shopping center where the new road's going to break through to the back. This is the existing Dollar Tree, so you can see the new facade that's going to be created, and as well as Community Bank, who I see is here as well. And so that's going to obviously be a great improvement there. And then this is back. You can see the green space and people gathering and what have you. And this is towards the back where Bright Bloom and the daycare will be. So again, lots of green, lots of opportunities for people to get outside. And then this is towards the back. This is Delaware Tech. And then this is what will be the mill site, which is the incubator space. This is the building C that I mentioned earlier. And actually, I don't know if I was supposed to go. That's not my slide. That's Mike's slide. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. We're obviously very excited about the project and look forward to seeing it come to life.
Yes, Councilman McQuillan, I only have one question. Would there be any exterior fencing involved with going around the property?
Yeah, we are looking at actually adding some fencing along Tall, but it'll be more of an aesthetic type fence, not a chain link or a vinyl screen or anything like that. So, trying to control where we want pedestrians to go to where they're supposed to go to come into the site so that they come into the site safely, using the new sidewalks along Sussex and using the new sidewalks along Atlanta.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions from council? Yeah. Any questions from the public? All right, very good.
you.
Very excited for this project. Thank you.
So we'll move on to the second item on the public hearing agenda. This is for Seaford Preservation Associates LLC, the property owners of 1 Dutton Avenue, tax map and parcels 331-5.00-50.02. They're seeking a subdivision of this property into 2 separate lots. So this is Seaford Meadows Apartments there on Dutton Avenue. Their main campus there where the red push pin is on that map, and then they have some wooded area behind it with the branch running through there. So a little backstory on why they're requesting this. They've requested some federal funding to renovate the complex and they are unable to obtain that funding if any portion of the apartment complex is in a floodway or flood zone. So they've been working over the past couple of years with FEMA to amend those maps, and they've removed the flood zone from, there's no buildings currently in the flood zone, but it still exists on the property, so they still can't get the federal funding to do their renovations. So they presented this subdivision to remove completely that back portion, all the wetland area, the wooded area from the main campus, so they could obtain that funding to renovate the complex. So that's the section shown in blue, highlighted in blue. It's unbuildable land, it's all wetlands, wooded. They will retain ownership of it for maintenance and things like that. And they did get a variance approved on June 12th for the lot width there on the right-hand side there that comes out to Norman Esker's Highway. It's currently 57 feet. The zoning requires 100 feet, so the Board of Adjustments did grant that variance so they could proceed with the subdivision. And that's basically all I've got for that, if there's any questions.
Are there any questions from council? Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Could you go back to that slide?
Yes, sir.
The property to the southeast, is that another part of the property, or is that the,
That is the
The
nursing
nursing
home.
home?
That's the nursing
So-
homes parcel, yeah.
so, see, for lack of a better word, the apartment complex owns all of that land behind the
Yes, sir.
wetland? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
all right, thank you.
Yes.
Are there any additional questions from council? Are there any questions from the public? All right, move on to number 3.
So for public hearing, item number 3, this is an amendment to Chapter 15 of the Municipal Code of Seaford, adding Section 15-29B, prohibited uses, and Section 15-40A, 5, relating to adult use retail marijuana stores. So I believe you all have the amendments to the code there in your packets. So what we are looking to do in Section 1529, that's the C1 General Commercial District, is prohibit any marijuana cultivation facilities, marijuana product manufacturing facilities, marijuana testing facilities, and retail adult use marijuana stores, and we would still permit medical marijuana facilities in that area. And then Section 1540A5 would be adding a use by special exception to the C2 Highway Commercial District zones for the adult use retail marijuana stores. And there's the list of the requirements that they will have to follow in order to obtain that special use exception. If you would like, you want me to read them into the record or just have them as submitted?
All right. Are there any questions from council regarding this item?
Yes.
Vice Mayor.
So this is verbatim from what we viewed the previous meeting?
At the first
Or
reading, yes, no
At the
changes have
first
been
reading?
made.
Okay, thank you.
Any other additional questions from council? Okay. Any questions from the public? Okay. All right, and going to close the public hearing and reopen our regular meeting at 7:19.
So jump back up to item number 1 for the findings of facts. This is Seaford Innovation Center's final plan. Owners are Seaford Commercial 28 LLC. Property is located at 1023 West Stein Highway. Tax map and parcel is 531-10.00-218, 219, 218.01, and 531-13.50-92.00. Zoning is C2 Highway Commercial, and the plan is to redevelop the Nylon Capital Shopping Center. Majority of the existing buildings will be demolished. Remainder of those will be renovated for future tenants. Several new buildings are planned for mixed use of higher education, medical offices, child education, retail, restaurants, and entertainment. and the approvals. They have DelDOT, they're pending that. DelDOT has requested the final plans to stamp. They've received State Fire Marshal's approval, Sussex Conservation, they received that, and the city engineer for stormwater. Planning and zoning did make a favorable recommendation to council at their June 13th meeting.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bailey. All right, so seek a motion on public hearing number 1.
I would like to make a motion to approve the request of Seaford Commercial 28 LLC, property owner of 1023 West Stein Highway, tax map and parcel number 531-10.00.218.00.219.00.219.01 and 531-13.50-32.00 for a final site plan review for the renovations and development of the large vacant shopping center as presented.
All right, we have a motion from Councilman Bradley. I seek a second motion.
Councilman Quillen, I'll second.
All right, a second from Councilman Quillen. Are there any questions from council on the motion? Okay, since there are no questions, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote. Vice Mayor Henderson,
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Councilwoman Dodger Grissett,
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Councilman Holland,
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Councilman Bradley,
Yes, based on findings and facts.
and Councilman Quillen.
Yes, based on findings and facts.
Okay, passed unanimously. And on to item number 2.
All right, so these are the findings of facts for the second
Tally-ho?
item. This is a lot subdivision for Seaford Preservation Associates LLC, properties located at 1 Dutton Avenue, 331-5.00-50.02. Zoning is R3 high density residential and C2 highway commercial. They're proposing to subdivide the unbuildable wetland area from the main apartment complex. They need that to apply for funding for renovations. They did get a variance approved June 12, 2024 for the lot width, where they reduced that from 100 down to 57 feet, which is the existing width there. Planning and zoning did make a favorable recommendation for approval on June 13th.
Okay. So with that, on item number 2, I will seek a motion.
Councilwoman Grassett, I'd like to make a motion to approve the request of the Seaford Preservation Associates LLC, property owner of 1 Dutton Avenue, tax map and parcel number 331-5.00-50.02 for a subdivision of the property into 2 lots as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilwoman Dr. Grissett. Do I have a second?
Councilman Henderson, I second.
A second from Vice Mayor Henderson. Are there any questions on the motion? Okay, since there are no questions, I'll take a roll call vote. Vice Mayor Henderson,
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Councilwoman Dr. Grissett,
Yes, based on findings and facts.
Councilman Holland,
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Councilman Bradley,
Yes, based on findings of facts.
and Councilman Quillen.
Yes, based on findings and facts.
Okay, passed unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley, appreciate it. Mr. Bailey, excuse me. All right, I'm going to move on to new business number 1, Chief Marshall Kraft. Okay.
Officer Matthews.
Yeah. So I'm Corporal Matthews, and this is elk that we have purchased from Tar Heel. This is what he looks like, in case anybody wasn't there for the demonstration. He's 4 years old. He's a German Shepherd that came from Germany, or not Germany, but overseas. So he's dual purpose. He can track, do detection work, odor of drugs, and then he also does bite work. We could not demonstrate that today. So tracking is for articles or people. If someone's had it and they toss it, which is very well known that people do, he'll be able to track it, be able to find it, and or people, which include like missing children and things of that nature. For detection, he is alerting to the presence of the odor of a controlled substance. These are what's called an alert. They're change of behaviors, which is he'll give these signs if he's like scanning a car. There'll be a few of these. I'm not going to say which ones. And then there's also more that he'll also do, which is just continued. And then for bite work, there's verbal outs or hard outs. Verbal outs he has commands for, and then hard outs is using the flat collar or his leash. And that is it. Is there any questions?
Any questions for Corporal Matthews from council? Vice Mayor?
Could you explain in a little bit more detail the difference between verbal outs and hard outs?
So verbal outs are me giving him a command, and he'll either let go or listen. Hard outs are where you use a flat collar or the leash to get him to let go of biting. For purposes, for if he does bite someone, it's more beneficial to do a hard out. So therefore, if he's not listening to a verbal out, there's no way around it. He'll listen to using a leash and getting him to stop biting someone.
Thank you.
Any additional questions from council? All right, well, we really appreciate your time tonight, Corporal Matthews, and thank you and to the chief for providing us a demonstration before council.
No problem. Have a good night.
All right, you too. Thank you.
We're going to move on to new business number 2, the Western Sussex Business Campus Phase 2.
Mr. Hearn is going to come up.
And Mr. Hearn, there he is.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Here to present the bids that GMB's recommendation for the bids for the Western Sussex Business Campus, Phase 2A. So on June 7th, we opened bids, 3 bids from various contractors for this project. We received bids from Teal Construction, George & Lynch Construction, and JJID. The lowest total base bid was received from Teal Construction in the amount of $3,160,160. There was also an add alternate Schedule C, which includes an additional 500-ish feet of road section extending Prosperity Way. The lowest total base bid was the amount of $3,336,336. We reviewed the bids, found it to contain all the required information, and to note that the base bid plus add alternate Schedule C was within the city's budget for this project, and therefore we are recommending that the contract be awarded to Teal Construction. And if you have any questions, happy to answer them.
Do we have any questions from council for Mr. Hearn? Okay.
No.
Well, yeah,
I thought I
tempted.
had one, but
Tempted.
I'm
Okay. I'll ask one, Mr. Hearn. For those who are maybe tuning in for the first time, can you elaborate at all what Phase 2 entails?
So without a map, it's going to be a little hard to describe, but I'll give it my best shot. So this work will extend Phase 1, which takes Opportunity Drive from where it currently ends, extends it across the tax ditch, and to serve the field across or right next to the Ross Mansion. So there'll be a new road, a tax ditch crossing. There'll be a stretch of road called Prosperity Way there. We also have the stormwater pond, stormwater infrastructure, all the sewer, which is totaling about 4,100 feet, water main, electrical work, a shared use path along Ross Station Road.
I appreciate that. Thank you for elaborating.
Hey, Mayor, if I might, just
point of privilege. Thank you. So just to dovetail with what Mr. Hearn is saying, council is aware we did budget this project, and funding is coming from a few sources. We were fortunate to receive FY23 bond bill appropriation, FY24 bond bill appropriation, and then the remaining ARPA funds that we have on hand. So our total budget for this is $4.004 million. I would like to add that the completion of Phase 2, the city is contractually obligated to finish Phase 2. We have an agreement of sale that's 2 years old with our client KRM, who's building the first building out there. The construction of infrastructure in Phase 2 was part of that agreement. They purchased just over 44 acres of land. So the completion of this project will fulfill our contractual obligation to that tenant.
And it's coming in under budget.
Yes, ma'am, it is. I would like to add the next item on the agenda, item number 3 is also funded with this funding. But yes, ma'am, we are slightly under budget. We want to save some money for contingencies and unknown conditions.
Councilman Quillen.
Yes, I just have one quick question. Going back to Teal Construction, who was the contractor doing the first phase?
George and Lynch.
George and Lynch did it. And were we pleased with their work?
Yeah, they're a quality.
I know they do
both,
quality work.
Yeah, both contractors have successful projects with the city for the last 30 years.
Okay. All right, I'm not really familiar with Teal more than I am
Okay.
with George and Lynch. So we are confident that Teal's going to be
Absolutely.
quality work for us.
Absolutely. Yeah, they've done several projects over the last many years with the city of Seaford. I think they've probably done tenfold more than that for GMB. I won't speak for GMB, but.
Yeah, they do a lot of work in the area. They're a good reputable contractor.
Okay, thank you. That's all I want to know. Thanks.
Are there any additional questions or comments from council? Okay, with no questions, I'll accept the motion on new business number 2.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Holland, I make a motion to award the bid for Western Sussex Business Campus, Phase 2A, to Teal Construction Incorporated, the low bidder, in the amount of $3,336,336 as presented.
All right, we have a motion from Councilman Holland. Do we have a second?
Councilman Quillen, I'll second.
Councilman Quillen on a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, it passes unanimously. And moving on to new business number 3.
All right, so Ben Hearn is here to answer any questions that council may have, Mr. Hearn. But as part of this project, it is a very large project, and the firm of George Miles and Buer, our city engineers, act on our behalf. They prepared the plans, they've gotten all the permits, and our previous contract with them took us up through the bidding phase. So what you have in front of you is their proposal for what's called Construction Administrative Services Proposal. And there's really 2 things. There's all the approvals necessary, all the questions from the contractor as things are going. The engineer is required to make routine inspections of the progress of the project as it progresses. And then additionally, for a project of this size, we are asking them to provide a resident project representative on the project, which will be an inspector that will be out there as the contractor is working, recording what's going in the ground, making inspections of the pipes, the wires, all those type things. We did a similar arrangement with GMB on Phase 1. It was very successful. So there's 2 components of this. The total is $247,501. And as Councilwoman Grassett alluded to, that does go into the overall budget. There is funding for this work, and staff would recommend council consider approval of this contract.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments from council? Okay, without any questions, I will accept the motion.
Councilman Quillen, a motion to approve the proposal from the city engineer George Miles and Buer for construction administration services for the Western Sussex Business Campus Phase 2 project as presented.
All right, we have a motion from Councilman Quillen. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
We have a second from Councilman Bradley. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That passes unanimously. Moving on to new business number 4.
All right, so council has in its package the annual appointment of records officers and authorized agents for 2025. Annually, we have to do this and report this to the Delaware Public Archives. These are the people that are authorized on our behalf to make submissions, work with them. Those persons are Beth Stewart, our municipal clerk, Tricia Newcomer, our Director of Economic Development and Community Relations, Charles Anderson, our city manager, and then June Merritt, our Director of Finance. The only change from previous years is just the name change for our new municipal clerk.
All right. Do we have any questions regarding new business number 4? Okay, if no questions, I will accept the motion.
I would like to make a motion to approve the City of Seaford appointments for records officers and authorized agents for fiscal year '25 to the Delaware Public Archives as presented.
We have a motion from Councilman Bradley. Is there a second?
Councilman Holland, I second that motion.
We have a second from Councilman Holland. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes unanimously. We hit number 5 earlier, so we'll move on down to new business number 6.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. In your package, council has an updated fiber use license agreement. Just a little bit of background, the city owns and operates, maintains a fiber optic network, and that fiber optic network runs throughout the city. The total is 11.8 miles of fiber. That's part of it's underground, part of it is hung on our poles, part of it enters some of our buildings, it enters City Hall, it enters our utility building. And over the time we've had it, we installed it in the early 90s, our electric crew did. We have offered the dark fiber lease to customers in our city. And the biggest customer is Tidal Health. And as their organization has grown and they've expanded into new buildings, new areas, they have come to rely on this fiber optic network for their intranet, so their communications between buildings within the city. So this agreement, what we had initially was a very kind of one-off agreement for kind of each location, and we charged by the foot for how long their tap was, how many fibers they were going to use. As this system has evolved, they would like to utilize a portion of it that's 24 strands. Fiber optic cable comes in different sizes. The main loop that we have is 48 fiber and 96 fiber. And each of those fibers come in tubes. So they're bundled together in colored tubes, red, green. So you can identify them, you can work with them. They would like to completely lease 24 strands of that 11.8 mile loop. What it does, it's what's called a sonnet ring, so it provides them dual capabilities, failover capabilities. So if something happens on one direction, on the east loop, then their equipment automatically fails over to the west loop. So they have redundant connection. So not only, it goes through the city in a different direction. So if a pole's hit, they're guaranteed critical communications. So I have to give a lot of credit to our IT coordinator, Gary Andrews, and his supervisor, Tricia Newcomer. They really dove into this with the hospital staff. They went through this, they updated this agreement. I will tell you that our prior agreement that we had, our revenue was about $5,000 to $6,000 a year. This new agreement will yield us revenue in excess of $26,000 annually. So this is basically an updated agreement with what we have out there now. This is a service that, by all accounts, the hospital desires, relies on, appreciates the city providing them. And we maintain the system anyway, so it really doesn't put a lot of burden on our electric department because they're the gentlemen that maintain it. And we have a good vendor that when we need to do splicing, they come in and the splicing costs are covered under the agreement. So staff would highly recommend council consider approval of the updated agreement. We will try to answer any questions that council might have.
All Are there any questions from City Council?
Question.
Vice Mayor.
The term,
I'll look it up for you, but I think this is, the last one was a 20-year term. I think this is 10.
I was looking
I
at.
have it in my notes, I think. No, I don't.
So,
Terms right here, I'll find it for you. Yeah.
my question is, we're halfway through the life of the fiber.
I don't know if we are or not. Let me say, to answer your first question directly, the term is, shall be 5 years commencing on the first day of January 2024. And then at the end of the initial term of the agreement, the licensee shall have the right to renew this agreement for additional 5 years at a mutually agreed rate. So 10 years, 5 years with a 5-year renewal.
So, the fiber is out of warranty. So if we
Yes.
have a breakage of their tubes, or of their tube, or fibers in their tube, strands 73 to 96, whose responsibility is that?
So through this agreement, they pay for the maintenance costs.
Okay.
So it would be prorated based on the section of cable that would need to be replaced.
Okay.
This cable is ADSS cable, and it is reinforced with Kevlar. I think this, I don't have the number, Bill Bennett could help us if he were here, but this is, we bought the higher grade cable. This cable has an ultra-long lifespan.
Well, just through my reading of it, had a 20-year life expectancy, and just like shingles, how many years do you get out of a 30-year shingle? It's a 20-year life expectancy with a 10-year warranty, so we're coming up on the life expectancy of, well, maybe it's not 20 years, maybe it's more, but
I believe it to be more based on the cable and the splicing.
it sounds to me like, I just want to be assured that we're not going to be on the hook
So
if something happens to this cable.
yeah, kind of how
It's out
I'll
of
answer
warranty.
that. It's out of warranty. If the cable starts to fail or degrade beyond its ability to carry our communications, the city is reliant upon this cable for communications to our facilities. So our Director of Public Works does all his communications to his lift stations, his wells, all of our switching out in the field for our gang-operated air brake switches, all our communications with our electrical equipment. In addition, and on the network rides all of our phone communications. So if the cable is deteriorated to the point where it has to be replaced, we have to replace it. And the hospital will share in a percentage of that replacement. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
The terms illustrated here, 5 years, and then potential to re-up for 5 more.
Yes.
If agreed upon initially, and then 5 years from now, parties want to agree to new terms, so to speak, 5 more years, that would have to come back forward for approval to this body.
If, this is the way I would answer that, Mayor, if there were substantive changes to the agreement, yes, sir. If it were just, they notify us, we want to extend it 5 more years at the same terms, we would extend it administratively.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions on new business number 6?
Yeah, I have one.
Councilman Quillen.
Do we have a plan put in place right now for replacement of cables if possible in the future?
We do not. The plans we are working on currently are modifications to the network. Specifically, we're working with the hospital to extend to the Nylon Capital Shopping Center. We're working with our golf course consultant to get an extension to the golf course so we can put security cameras out there. So cable replacement is not an issue at this point, and we haven't set up a sinking fund for that. We have not done that at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Any additional questions from council? Okay, if there are no additional questions, I'll receive a motion.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Holland, I make the motion to approve the fiber use license agreement between the City of Seaford and Title Health Nanticoke for fiber optic network leasing as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Holland. Do we have a second?
I second the,
Go ahead.
I second the motion.
We have a second from Dr. Councilwoman Grassett. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. It's unanimous.
Was it unanimous or was it in opposition?
No, I said aye. I just, it was a little
Just delayed.
delayed.
Just
Okay,
a
I
little
got
delay
you.
on it.
Just want to be, that's fine.
All right, we're going to move on to new business number 7.
Okay, so in your package, you have a resolution requesting the Delaware Department of Transportation to convert the intersection of Bridgeville Highway and Virginia Avenue to an all-way stop configuration. We received communication, and it is, the email is in your package, and it was from Jonathan DeBerry, P.E., with the Delaware Department of Transportation. And I'm going to read it into the record. Good afternoon, Charles. DelDOT receives concerns at the subject intersection. We have completed a draft study looking at intersection control, and in short, the intersection would operate acceptably if converted to an all-way stop configuration. Can you please review the study document and let me know if Seaford has any comments or questions? If Seaford is in support of converting this intersection to an all-way stop, DelDOT needs something official from the city that authorizes this change in traffic control, ordinance, resolution, etc. Once received, DelDOT will draft a resolution that coincides with the city's resolution ordinance and prepare the necessary design documents to program construction. I'm also attaching an example from Georgetown that outlines it. So when I received this communication on June 13th, I did forward it to our Director of Public Works, Mr. Mears, and our Chief of Police, Marshall Kraft. Chief of Police has submitted a letter for council, the mayor and council, to talk about the conversion to an all-way stop and the site distance, because there's some vegetation out there that should be addressed. So he's recommending that that get addressed, and then the flashing caution signs out there to approach drivers to this intersection if it changes, that there is a new traffic pattern. I will also state in your package is the analysis from JMT, and they are a consultant that's hired by DelDOT, and they go through the existing conditions, the crash analysis, I believe it was for a 5-year period, 2018 to 2023, and their basis for the recommendation of the all-way stop configuration. I will stop there and ask for any questions.
Do we have any questions from council on new business number 7? Councilman Bradley.
Well, it's more of a comment than a question. I'm not crazy about four-way stops to begin with, and that is a heavier congested area of Seaford. We have a tremendous amount of traffic there, and I would much more entertain some thought about a traffic light there than I would a four-way stop. That area of town is, we have all that medical facility out there. There's a lot of traffic. Is the speed limit still 25 there, or does it pop up to, it doesn't
It's
pop up to
35.
40? Yeah,
It's
and then it
35.
goes to 45. So you've got a good rate of speed. I really think it's going to be a nightmare, and that's my own personal opinion. We have them in rural areas, and people have more time to prepare to stop, and even there, they're still having issues. I mean, I drive the alternate on coming home every Friday evening, and it's a game, to be honest with you. And I think that this particular area is just too heavily traveled for a four-way.
Are there any additional, Councilman Holland?
Hey, question for the chief, probably. Did you do a survey yourself, or did we just go on DelDOT's?
No, so this is a state-maintained road, and
Okay.
DelDOT had conversations, I think the city manager, myself, at the school district a couple years ago when they were talking about installation of a traffic light at School Lane. We brought it up then that we felt strongly that they needed a traffic light at Virginia Avenue and Bridgeville Highway. They were supposed to prompt a traffic study. I'm not sure exactly what prompted this other than that conversation. However, based on their crash analysis, 18 crashes in 5 years, and 7 of them I think were mitigatable. If they had some vegetation removal, they feel that the four-way stop's appropriate. I think I've voiced my opinion strongly that
Yes, sir.
I do agree there has to be something there, and if not traffic light, I think that we have to at the very least try the four-way stop, as long as they put flashing caution lights, because I agree wholeheartedly with Councilman Bradley. That's not a lot of distance. There's going to be traffic. I am concerned about backing up to Stein Highway, quite frankly, and people running that stop sign because it's not a 25-mile-an-hour speed zone, and they don't have a lot of distance. It's heavily traveled. That's why you've seen the flashing lights and also vegetation study that wasn't done. So based on the best that we could do at this time, I was asked for a recommendation, and if that's all we can get, I would say that it's probably worth at least trying. However, I would probably be the first to be able to make a recommendation that they're removed if we see the increase in crashes. The data that they have is appropriate. I mean, they've got the number of cars and the volume of cars. I just think that the good intentions is going to cause unintended consequences at 10 months out of the year.
So refresh my memory,
Yes, sir.
if I remember right, didn't you look at one by Trinity? Because the traffic leaving there along with the car wash and,
Councilman, I think you're correct. I think
Yeah.
what happened was when Melanie's Ridge developed, part of their traffic impact study looked at what improvements need to be made, and I'm thinking there was a traffic signal looked at. I will also state, my memory is, Mr. Mears may be able to help me, but when they developed Woodland Mills apartment complex,
right?
they actually required that developer to pay into a fund when a traffic signal was warranted, that they would have money to help them assist with that traffic signal. So I think a traffic signal is on DelDOT's radar. I think as the chief has stated, it needs to meet their warrants and their analysis. Council has a lot of options. I think council has a few options here, should they desire. Certainly, as the chief has stated, if you want to follow this recommendation, the chief has committed to monitoring this, and if traffic increases or if other unintended consequences occur, then the chief, our conversations were he'd be the first one to go back to DelDOT and say, we now have these problems, we need to solve these problems. We could go back and ask DelDOT, did they look at a traffic signal? And would they look at a traffic signal? Why didn't they look at a traffic signal? We could potentially ask for more information and ask them to respond. I can ask them if we could bring it back to our next meeting for council's edification, if that's desired.
This is probably a cost issue. It's about $250,000 or more to install a traffic light.
And a stop sign, Mr. Mears, is about $300.
Yeah. The only thing I didn't see, and I think we spoke about it, was piano keys all the way around. Probably have another conversation about that.
Yeah, and Councilwoman Grassett remembers when we did a safe routes to school improvement at this intersection that got the crosswalks that were installed and the handicap ramps.
Yeah, and it should be pointed that one of those 18 crashes was a recent pedestrian crash. She was very fortunate
Yes, she is.
when she was struck. Captured on video.
Vice Mayor.
Yes, in 2015, when then Transportation Director Susan Messick was here from the school district with Safe Routes to School, they wanted to do an island in the middle of Stein Highway, which the council opted to put sidewalk in and requested that they concentrate on this very intersection. And at that time, if my memory is correct, they were to do a or a study for a light, but I don't think that ever happened. If a light is not warranted by this traffic study, then I think I can't speak for the state, but I think they're taking graduated steps. Something needs to be done, and if rules of the road are followed, then people will be able to safely exit Virginia Avenue. That's the choke point right now. You have dozens of cars stacked up on Virginia Avenue because they can't get out. And I think if they don't warrant a light, that we need to have the stop signs.
That was my analysis and my recommendation. It's not ideal, but it's probably the best option we have right now going into the next school year. They'd be at least 3 years out, more likely.
That's a good point, Gene.
At least 3 years out for a light, or you mean for the,
At
not for the
least-
stop signs?
No, for a light.
Oh, I was gonna say.
Yeah, so if it's approved for the stop signs, we could continuously, it took 2 years, if you recall, of me doing our own traffic studies west of Seaford for the Montessori to get that speed reduced, to the same speed out past it.
And that was just moving a couple signs.
Yeah.
And that was just literally redoing the speed a little bit. And there was reasons for it. Property's not owned by the school and things of that nature that runs out to the roadway. So crashes started to pick up. Amazon came. The bank got more traffic flow because the one in Bridgeville closed, and more construction started to happen, and that's what ultimately led to it. And I think that's what's going to happen at this intersection as well.
Do you have any additional questions for Chief Kraft?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Okay, about any additional questions, I'll accept the motion on new business number 7.
Councilman Henderson, I make a motion to approve the resolution R2-2024 that would authorize the installation of an all-way stop at the intersection of Bridgeville Highway and Virginia Avenue as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Vice Mayor Henderson. Is there a second?
Councilman Quillen, I'll second.
All right, a second from Councilman Quillen. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, it passes unanimously. We'll move on to old business number 1.
Okay, and our building official is still here if there are any questions, Mr. Bailey. But this is the second reading of the ordinance. And just to state it, this is an amendment to our zoning ordinance. So our zoning ordinance requires 2 readings and a public hearing, which we did hold tonight. So we have satisfied the requirements of the zoning ordinance. If council decides to adopt this revision this evening and approve it, then the process would be the building official staff would advertise the change in a local newspaper, and it would have to advertise for 30 days prior to it becoming effective. So the building official or myself will try to answer any questions council might have.
Are there any additional questions from council regarding old business number 1? Okay, without any additional questions, I'll accept the motion.
Councilman Henderson, I make a motion to approve the changes to section 15-29B, 1540, and 1540A, 5 of the municipal zoning code to restrict the sale of adult-use cannabis to C2 highway commercial zoning districts with a maximum of 2 locations as presented.
All right, we have a motion from Vice Mayor Henderson. Is there a second?
Councilman Grissett, I second that.
Okay, we have a second from Councilwoman Dr. Grissett. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, it passes unanimously. And moving on to reminder of meetings.
I only have one, sir. Its city offices and utility divisions will be closed July 4th in observance of the 4th of July holiday.
Absolutely. Happy Independence Day early to everybody out there. I'm going to keep it moving to our council liaison reports, and we're going to start with Councilwoman Dr. Grissett with Public Works and Wastewater Treatment Facility.
Public Works is utilizing the camera system that they've been able to purchase and start using to be able to go down into look at piping to see if there's any root damage, and they're continuing that process. They have found some issues that they are repairing, and they're hoping to be able to do this camera work at all of the sites that they're able to do, to be able to check for things that are impeding any of their pipes. They have been working on videoing many of those sewer mains and want to continue. They had a contractor in to repair a sewer lateral on Hall Street. It was a very deep 10-foot lateral, so they did need to get a contractor in to do that. They did install the handicap sign that we approved at our last meeting on Wolford. They are performing routine equipment maintenance and are performing routine tasks. As far as wastewater and compost, they are dealing with issues because of significant heat increase. As the temperature goes up, the mix needs to be changed a little bit. I guess that's the best way to put wastewater treatment, is to say the mix needs to be changed a bit, and so they are doing that as a result of the heat that we have had. Otherwise, things seem to be good at the wastewater treatment plant. They are also have been performing some testing that they are required to do by DNREC, as well as some inspections that they are required to do because we accept sludge from Bridgeville. They have had to go and make inspections at Rappa and another location. What was the second location? Simmons. They've had to inspect those facilities to make sure that what's coming to us is what's supposed to be coming to us. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on to Police and Fire with Vice Mayor Dan Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have complete reports from Fire Chief Wilson and Police Chief Kraft. I would like to open up to say I'd like to correct an error in the report. I've neglected to change the name of the president in the report. The president of the Seaford Volunteer Fire Department is now Mr. Mark Obeer. I have just forgotten to replace the name. Be that as it may, I haven't had any communication with him, and that's maybe part of the reason why I haven't put his name on there. But my apologies to President Obeer. Communications from the fire chief. We're running for the total for 2024 under fire statistics. We're running an average of 2.9 calls per day. The June total, or the June average, with a few days remaining, is 3.7 per day. EMS, the average number of calls is 13.0 per day, and June's total is up as well for 15.1 calls per day. Significant incidents are listed here. There's one within the city that happened on June 3rd, 801 Middleford Road at Tidal Health. There was a HVAC system that there was a smoke scare, smoke detector went off. Or there was enough smoke to cause the detector to go off. Others were assists out of the district or out of the city. All apparatus are in service at this time. The last training was June 19th at Station 87 for brush fire units. There were 15 members present, and that was very opportune training because we had a brush fire yesterday or Sunday. With it, yeah, yesterday there was a brush fire where this training came in handy. Under emergency medical services, there's a number of activities here. There was a small backing accident with a trainee. Ambulance A87 into Bay 1. There was no damage to the building, and the bumper was repaired in the firehouse. Ambulance A87, the self-load stretcher, is out of service. with the stretcher locked in the ambulance, the service tech on site yesterday for repairs. Most of these are minor accidents. Pardon me. A topic that we spent some time on during the liaison meeting, the last one there, the Delaware Family Medical Leave Act. They have in the state plan, which we talked about at the planning session with council. Director Merritt introduced that, and we shared some information with him in regards to that, because they're not sure how they're going to handle the new law that's coming into effect January 1?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, 2025. So we've offered to share knowledge and some resources with the chief to try to make this transition. Under news and events, I'm going to jump down to the Ladder 87 aerial testing. Will start on July 19th for its NFPA compliance. Pump testing for engine 87.5, engine 87.2, and tanker 87 will start on June 27th to meet their compliances. And all of the mobile communication CADs and all the apparatus received the new update from Sussex County Communications, and with a few minor tweaks, I think he reported that everything's working fine. Moving on to the Seaford Police Department, Chief Kraft has once again issued a comprehensive report showing activity or statistics from prior years all the way back to 2020, and including year-to-date numbers as of June 23rd, going down through the column with 5,906 total complaints for the year, and you'll see the distribution there. Pardon me. 181 under all crimes, and you'll see the distribution there with 11 felonies. There's an 87% clearance rate, which is down slightly from the previous period, however, is above average amongst their peers. The two charts show you the distribution of the days of the week where the highest volumes are, and to the right of that, at the top bar graph, shows you the distribution of the hours of day. Under additional crime data, there were a total of 18 complaints with a 44% clearance rate, and that's down from the, I think that's down from the previous period, with nine total drug complaints and 9 adult arrests. 252 traffic contacts with 137 citations and 15 warnings. 7 DUIs and 1 crash related, 42 crashes, 22 reportable, 5 hit and runs, most of these at this time were on public streets. There was 1 on private property. Fortunately, there were no pedestrian or bicycle accidents during this period. There are a number of significant incidents that are listed here, which I will allow you to review. There was, on the 23rd of June, I'll list the last one, Seaford Police Department was dispatched to King Street and Arch Street for a reported large group fight, approximately 25 people. Upon arrival, officers observed subjects dispersing from the grass lot behind the Verizon building. case is pending. You'll see a number of activities of the administration. And the community events that they attended. I'll move down to the Seaford Police recruit training. The 21-week academy in Dover began on April 7th and will be ending on August 29th. We currently have 2 cadets or recruits in training. Regrettably, one has withdrawn. You might recall that there were 3, but one has withdrawn. Under cadets, good news about the cadets. The cadets were on bicycle patrol and ride-alongs, assisting patrol officers with complaints, arrests, proactive pedestrian and bicycle stops, as well as community engagement. Cadets attended the food bank distribution at Chandler Heights apartment complex and assisted with food distribution. They handled a total of 11 arrests and multiple prisoner transports to SCI, and Cadet Morales assisted with translating on multiple occasions. Chief, I want to give you the opportunity to give an update on some of the activities of Cadet Brumley. You had mentioned that he had some exemplary activities. Would you care to? It's not in the report, but I think it's worth mentioning.
Sure. I actually believe it was listed in the significant events. I just don't list officer names typically. But our cadets are all over the city. I'm sure the community has seen them. East Seaford, West Seaford, they're all over. And in particular, they do food distributions on Chandler Heights, typically once a month, in Meadowbridge. While they're in Chandler, when they clear, they're up and down the streets on North and Chandler and Collins and all over, and they get to know a lot of the members of the community and where they live and who they are. In this particular one event, Officer Brumley was doing a ride-along with one of our newer officers, and they observed a vehicle that had an expired tag of about a year. And the new officer that's not really familiar with this jurisdiction saw the vehicle and thought that it was going to be a vehicle that's trying to evade the stop. Officer Brumley, or my apologies, Cadet Brumley, observed the vehicle, knew where the gentleman lived, basically knew who he was, and said he thought he was just trying to make it to his driveway, so it didn't escalate the situation. Literally followed him about a block, and he pulled into his driveway, got out. It just so happens that that person was suspended, revoked, expired tags, and also had a capias. And the passenger ended up having possession of crack cocaine and a pill bottle and warrants on him as well. And he was able to successfully handle that. That's the type of caliber officers I think we're going to have from our cadets. And by the way, he and Deborah Morales just signed their conditional job offers for the fall class. We're very fortunate. And thank the council members for voting to have this program. It certainly is a force multiplier. They're transporting prisoners near daily that keeps cops on the street instead of tied up with minor transports. Processing prisoners gets them back on the street. And they really have increased presence in our community everywhere. So thank you again for that.
Thank you for your input. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. So that concludes my report.
If I may, I'll just echo a couple sentiments. I've heard tremendous reports from our community regarding the bike patrol. Like the last 2 weeks, I heard all good things. That seems to be going very, very well. So kudos to you and your team, Chief. And Vice Mayor, it was an honor to attend the Youth Academy introductions on, was that yesterday morning?
Yes.
It's been a long couple of days.
Right and early.
Yes, sir. That was a lot of fun and good to see. You got, I think, 9 were in attendance that day. So, yeah, by all means.
Chief, did we get all 9 back?
Yes, sir.
This morning?
There you go.
Okay, good.
Glutton for punishment. Yeah,
They loaded 6,000 pounds of food at the food bank today in Milford as part of community service.
Gave kudos to is it Corporal Wingate. I'm getting
Master Corporal.
Master Corporal Wingate. Master Corporal, doing a tremendous job out there. So kudos to them. All right, move over to Administration and IT. And Councilman Orlando Holland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A landscaping architect, had a meeting with him regarding the J-Nest Playground. and the meeting was held along with Grace Peterson in attendance, referring to 3-quarter houses, and the owner of a Holiday Inn expressed regarding the condition of the property and its plans for repairs. And they attended Ross Mansion grand reopening, and camera installation project has been completed. And they attended various other meetings and events, and all the work is routine. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilman. We'll move on to Electric and Councilman Mike Bradley.
Okay, they've completed their year-end inventory, believe it or not. They did their monthly substation checks, changed over the electrical feed for the signal at Sussex and Stein, and they removed old transformer banks from behind the original Butler's location. Bill attended an open house for Hubble in New Jersey. Their facility was 82,245 square feet. They do custom molds and lighting relay production, and Bill found it very informative. The upcoming weeks, Chris and Mike will be attending a lineman school. There's going to be a change-out sectionalized cabinet behind Wawa. Okay, so, you know, I'm novice, so I had to ask some questions here. And what that is, originally mainline fed in and V'd off for Grottos and for Wawa, okay? Tesla came in and they put charging stations in, which pretty much used up any excess area or available wiring and whatnot. And so what they are gonna do is, let me get this straight here as I write this down. They are gonna run an additional line in the back for future development. In other words, what they're doing is being proactive for further construction, okay? So I thought that was rather interesting. And the balance can be read on Bill's report. Respectfully submitted.
Okay, thank you, Councilman. We're going to move on to Code and Parks and Recreation, and Councilman Al Quillen.
Okay, I'll start with the Code Department. Still issuing permits, 190 issued in 2024. Rental license is still remaining at 1,796. Rental license renewals have been sent and are being processed. Rental inspections are being scheduled and completed. Doing violation inspections throughout the city and performing plan reviews for new permits as well. Large projects that are still going on within the city. Muirfield 1 Phase 3, still working on that with 51 lots. East Park Business Center, the final building has been completed. Bel Air Single Family, which construction is starting homes and going in there, and then they also have a very nice sales office in there now that they put in there, so that looks pretty nice back in there. Western Business Campus, the exterior is completed, and they're going to start working on the interior, and the loading dock doors have been installed as well. The big thing, the Nylon Capital Shopping Center. I hear that someone got into the excavator a little early and tried to knock some walls down there, and a lot of people started scattering and running. Is that true, Mr. Mayor?
I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth, Councilman.
Okay, all right. Well, that's a big thing, because I think a lot of people have been asking in the community, when's it going to happen?
Yeah.
It's happening. It's great to see that. And last is the Taylor Professional Building Center, the building construction has started, and the foundation has been poured on that. Moving to Parks and Rec, a lot of good things happening here as well. Unfortunately, we had a little problem with the irrigation system in Kiwanis Park, and during the construction from the highway there, some sprinkler heads got damaged, so we are repairing damages to the sprinkler heads. Met with the Sussex Conservation about the tax ditch near Ross Station Road. There's some vegetation that's in there that being scheduled to be cleared out of there, so we have proper drainage going through there. Met with Nanticoke Watershed Alliance to review, coordinate, and maintain plans for the current and past projects. Worked with the electric department on Gateway Fountain, needs a new relay and pump. The fountain will be shut down until replaced. Hopefully that will be repaired and up and going in the near future. As far as recreation, have begun registrations for youth soccer and for youth flag football. Currently have about 20 registrations. Normally we have about 200 participants in the soccer program and about 150 participants in the flag football program. Men's slow pitch championships have started on actually tomorrow night. They'll be beginning on that as well. Also working with the varsity head coach for a youth field hockey clinic, which will begin August the 5th and run through to the 8th. Attended the monthly Seaford Tomorrow meeting and also attended Friday Night Live event, which was held on the 21st, which was a very warm evening, but with the trees that were out on the back lot back here, it was very, and the breeze that was blowing, it was very comfortable, and we had probably well over 200 people attending that. Seems like Friday Night Live is becoming a very good event, and it's really growing. So if you haven't been out to it, I encourage you to go, okay? Also met with AJT Homes to review the site work for the sidewalk extension project at the sports complex, which is sidewalks will be extended along the road going into the complex off of Virginia Avenue. That sidewalk will be extended all the way back there, going back around towards Jay's Nest. And this is really exciting for me. We attended a meeting with Tri-State Community Partners to review the Jay's Nest Playground. I think there's going to be a lot of things, a lot of improvements that this partnership we can do here with this group. We're actually going to have a committee meeting, a Parks and Rec committee meeting on July 10th, and we're going to be going through this and see what possibilities we have there for really maybe some major upgrades to that facility back in there. That completes my report.
Sounds like a lot of good things going on in the city, Councilman Quillen.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. I want to say a few thank yous to everybody tonight. Thank you to council. Thank you to city leadership for coming in early tonight, 6 p.m. for the K-9 demonstration. We really appreciate it. I want to extend thank yous out there to all of the individuals who signed up for our committees. There's a lot of people I did not read their names tonight. Just know that you are appreciated. The committees play a very valuable role in the city and what we do here, so thank you very much. And just want to extend a very happy and safe early 4th of July to everybody out there next week. And with that, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
All right, we got a motion from Vice Mayor Henderson. Do we hear a second?
And Councilman Quillen seconds.
All right, Councilman Quillen with the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, thank you very much.